Hello and welcome to Feng Shui Q&A. I'm Ken Lauer, Feng Shui expert and consultant and life designer, and I'm here to help you gain clarity inside a life of overwhelm. All too often we have questions, and Feng Shui can be confusing. I know, because I've been there. That was one of the reasons why I got involved with Feng Shui to begin with, as far as being an expert at it, because I'd read one book, it'd tell me to do one thing, and I'd read something else and it'd tell me to do the exact opposite. So my whole approach ever since I started Feng Shui was, how do we use something so that it translates then into some type of measurable result or progress? And so as a result of all the information and miscommunications and things like that out there in the world, what I want to do is help you gain clarity and sift through all the things you could, should, need, or must do. And what are the simple things that are going to help you get true to yourself and to what you really want? And all too often, people can get more obsessed with the tools than the outcomes. And so today we want to be more obsessed with the outcomes than the tools, and we can figure out what tools we need to help us solve that. So at any time, if you have a question or anything comes up, let me know in the comments and I would be happy to answer your questions live. Today, what I wanted to talk about was the number one reason why people come and use Feng Shui. And that is really around their professional life and harnessing the power to attract more money. And what I want to talk about is not only the wealth corner and the different areas of your space, but what do you need to do to really change and shift your personal energy so that you can truly take action and get results, and it begins to convert into what you really want? All too often we have an idea and we get excited, but then it never translates into what we truly want. And so what I want you to think about is, what do you really want? Is it a certain number? Usually with finances and numbers, we can bring it down and boil it into some type of number. With well-being, with happiness, it's a little more challenging to bring it down into a simple measurement or a number. And so what I want you to think about today is, what do you need to do to improve your numbers in your finances, in your income, in your revenues? And at the same time, what do you need to do to improve the exchange or improve the ability to solve problems? You see, the better or the bigger problem that you can solve, the more you can charge. And maybe that's not quite your revenue model at this point. Maybe you're working in a career, but what you're looking for is more meaning and making a bigger difference and having a bigger impact in the things that you can do. And so what we want to do is understand, where are we blocking ourselves? Where are we self-sabotaging? And what are we doing that's actually limiting our energy? And then how do we begin to optimize our space to optimize our ability to take action or to truly manifest? And so what I want you to think about is, when you look at the Feng Shui of your home. Now, all too often we look at the space and we can understand all of the different factors that we could do or need to do. And all of a sudden you'll go into, oh, I need to clear the clutter. Well, again, for those of you that have been listening to me time and time again, it's not about a clutter-free space. It's about, what do we need to do to have a clutter-free mind? So all too often people get hyper organized, or they see these organization books and all of that, and they buy all the different things, and that helps a little bit, but it doesn't translate into their professional life or what they're capable of doing. Because all too often we have to have a shift in perspective. We have to change our patterns, our habits, our behaviors, and we have to do it on a subconscious level. And so what I want you to think about today is looking at your wealth area. And so here's what I want you to think about. First of all, look at the entrance of your home or your apartment. And as you start to walk in, what do you experience? What do you see? What all of a sudden is the focal point? Or are there too many things to focus on? And what can you do to truly bring that action and that mobility? Hi, Jan. How are you? Hi, Rebecca. So glad that you guys are here. So if you guys have any questions throughout this session, let me know. Feel free to list in the comments and I will answer them as I can. So what I want you to think about is, with the feng shui of your space, pardon me, we got to just do a little adjustment. With the feng shui of your space, let's start at the entrance. And before we even get into the home or the apartment or the townhouse or whatever you may have, what is your experience as you walk up to the main door? Now, maybe you're coming in through the garage. Maybe you're coming in through a side door. Maybe you're coming in through the front door. But for right now, what I want you to do is focus on the door that you're using most often, because that is how your home is greeting you and dictating your patterns, habits, and behaviors. And so all too often, immediately as we come in, we drop our stuff in one location, we do something, if you go to the kitchen, then maybe instantly you go for your snack or wherever you come in through. And, or if you're seeing a bathroom, a lot of times you come in and that's the first thing that you have this inkling of like, oh, I need to use the restroom. So what is the first space that you're experiencing? And what do you need to do? Hi, Sharon, how are you? So glad that you're here. And what do you need to do to start to shift that pattern? And so what I want you to look at is the entrance, because again, if the chi or the energy doesn't come into your space, it doesn't matter much what you do. You can hang all the crystals, the trinkets, the lucky charms, and things like that, but it's not going to equate or translate into real results that matter most to you. Or it's not going to translate into having new levels of energy that you can take advantage of. And so what I want you to do is start to look at the exterior of your home. And what is that story telling? And one of the simplest, easiest ways to do this is bring out your phone and take a picture. The moment that you do that is the moment that you change your perspective. And it gets really exciting because all of a sudden, then you look at your picture and you're like, hey, this isn't what I, designed my space for. I got stuff over here. I got bags over here. I got the vacuum cleaner that I haven't put away for a year. And so all of a sudden it starts to tell a story. And so what I want you to think about is, what is the story being told in your entryway? And then what can you do to simplify it? A lot of times it's about shifting some things around. It's not all of a sudden about redoing some massive renovation or redoing the floors or painting or moving the door or putting a new door in or anything like that. Those are midterm and long-term options and opportunities. But what can we do in the short term that's going to truly help us experience progress and results? So now all of a sudden we do it and we feel better. And when you feel better, you want to do more of it. And so what I want you to do is look at your entryway and start to think about, how can I brighten it up? Now, with lighting, you want the entryway to be well lit. You don't want to be coming into the dark. And so what can you do to lighten and brighten? Now, there's a difference between having lighting and having piercing light, to the point where things are so bright that they're piercing and all of a sudden you're squinting, because that can have a negative impact on your energy and feeling good. And so one of the quick questions is, what can you do to improve the lighting of your entryway as you come in? Or if you're coming through the garage, do you have a clean and clear path to actually get into the space? Or do you have to do this zigzag disco dance before you can truly even get into the space? And so as we start to make our way into the space, then all of a sudden you're able to start to articulate, what can you do or what do you need to do? And that's where your intentions and having a plan are really important. And so all too often we can have the best ideas, but there's just literally an idea, they're a thought, but we haven't taken the steps or the actions to truly manifest them on a bigger scale. And so what I want you to think about is, every day that you come home to your space, what are your intentions for that day? What are your intentions for that evening? Or how do you want to experience the space? All too often we have things that make us feel wealthy and abundant, and it doesn't translate into big expenses. It could be literally using your aromatherapy mister, or you could be lighting a candle, or spraying a spray that you truly love. But all too often when we have disruptions and distractions, we stop doing those things. And so what I want you to think about is, what can you do to help you embrace the feelings of wealth, abundance, and prosperity, so that when you show up in your professional life, how do you show up differently with a different energy, a different vibration, a different frequency? so that you're truly solving problems and working from a place of purpose and passion rather than fear, self-doubt, and anxiety, or plain and simple, sedation and suppression. You know, there are certain jobs or certain things that you do that you really have to sedate and suppress who you truly are. And over time, that just takes a grind on your energy, because every time you do it, your energy keeps getting smaller and smaller until you just feel like a robot and you're just going through the motions. But then you convince yourself, hey, this is what I have to do, so this is what I do. But the reality is, what can you do to show up in a completely different way? And all too often, we can look at the patterns, habits, and behaviors, and those are dictated within your space. So as we make our way into the entryway, you're asking yourself, what can I do to lighten and brighten this area? And what can I do to remove obstacles out of my life? What do I need to do to simplify so that I can truly have my intentions and focus on what I really want and call that into my life? You see, all too often, people are focused on the tools or all the things they need to do, but they've forgotten why they're doing them to begin with. What is the outcome? So all too often, people are focused on the mundane, which is the tactics of like, I just got to do this, I just got to do that. But they forgot, like, hey, what do I really want? And what do I want to experience? Or what do I want in my professional life? What can I do to improve? What can I do to show up in a different way? And so all too often, people are feeling disruptions and distractions. And then all of a sudden they start reading about Feng Shui and they're like, hey, put a three-legged toad, or hide coins in the corner, or put crystals, or, you know, any type of lucky charm or lucky trinket or anything like that. And all of a sudden, instead of being empowered, you feel empowered because you bought something for $10 and you're like, this is going to be the solution. This is the magic pill that's going to make all my financial worries go away. The reality is, maybe you feel a difference, but then all of a sudden you want that experience again. So what do you do next? Well, you go out and you buy your next trinket. I don't. So all of a sudden now, okay, well, I need to put some crystals here. I need to do that. Next thing you know, okay, well, I read about the relationship area or the relationship corner or the career area. So let me do something else again. And over time, what we have to do and have to understand is you're getting further and further away from who you are. And that's the recipe. That's the recipe of Feng Shui. The whole goal is, what do we need to do to help you get back to your true self? And then from that place, you have a clean slate, so that then you can define, hey, what do I want to manifest? What do I want to produce? And what do I want to create? And all too often, we forget about those things as we get older. Stacy, how are you? Good morning. So it makes it so much easier. She says, oh my, that makes it so much simpler. Yes, there you are. So if you guys are just joining us and you have a Feng Shui question, or plain and simple, just a question or something that's on your mind, let me know in the comments. We'll be happy to address them here in this live session and help you guys get clarity. And this is your opportunity to do just that. You know, I had a question the other day around mirrors, and mirrors in the bedroom specifically. And so the question, there's all these myths with mirrors in the bedroom. And so the question is, hey, can I have a mirror? Can I not have a mirror? Should I cover it up? Should I not cover it up? There's all of this emotion. And so it makes people scared to even consider having a mirror in their bedroom. And so a lot of times people in Feng Shui, they write, hey, you should cover that up. And now all of a sudden you're working way too hard for way too little. And so here's some of the beliefs or myths around, you know, the mirrors in the bedroom. And the one is that it's going to double your marriage or your relationship or things like that. And so somebody will have a wandering eye, or there'll be an affair or something like that. Another one is a belief or myth is that when you sleep, your spirit and your soul rise. And then when it comes back in the body, it's going to get confused and it's going to go into the mirror rather than back into your body. Or another is when you wake up and you see that reflection, and all of a sudden you're going to be startled every time. And then that scatters your energy. And then now, instead of confidence and certainty, you're not feeling that. Here's my perspective from a Feng Shui standpoint. Mirrors can be added to the bedroom to improve communication. And my belief is a mirror is one of the simplest things that you can add to a space to help it feel like a home. And so what you want to do is start to look at and ask yourself, hey, where could I put a simple piece of a simple mirror? Because all of a sudden it expands it. It makes it feel bigger. It makes it feel more three-dimensional, texture, depth, dimension, all of these things. And as you go up in investment into your space, things shift from two-dimensional into three-dimensional, meaning things come out from the walls. The less investment you have in your space, they're more two-dimensional, meaning they're flat. And then all of a sudden, if you go even lower, then all of a sudden people are taping things to the wall. They're taping a picture to the wall, or they found a calendar that they're hanging and stuff like that. And so what you want to do is have more depth, dimension, and texture within your space. So mirrors can actually improve the communications of a space, and they don't have an impact. Now, the only other challenge is what you have to realize with mirrors in the bedroom is they do reflect light. So if it's reflecting the sunlight in the morning and it's waking you up, then that could pose a challenge. But from my point of view, you don't need to every night get up and put the blanket over the mirror and be scared of it each and every time. And that's what a lot of people do, is they start approaching Feng Shui from a place of fear. Oh my gosh, here's the reason why you're never going to make money, because you have the toilet in your wealth corner. That's just not true. All of these things are pieces of the puzzle to help you gain clarity into your patterns, habits, and behaviors. And it starts to tell you and tap into what's happening in the subconscious mind. Cindy says, where is the wealth abundance area in your home, office, etc.? So Cindy, here's a great question. So when you're looking at the home, what I want you to think about is if you were standing in your front door looking in, the wealth corner is in the back left corner. Now, keep in mind that the back center is your fame and recognition. The back right is your relationship area. And this is where we start to understand the Bagua. The Bagua is 9 different sections kind of within this square, and how your space can be laid out and translate into different areas of your life and start to tell the story. And so the challenge is, based on where that front door is, it can have an impact on how that overlays into the floor plan. Some doors are sideways, meaning that you can put the Bagua on a very small part of the actual house because the rest of the house might be behind that line of the front door. And so there's all these different things. But if you're standing at the front door looking in, and if you were starting to look kind of down on the space, the back left corner area would be your wealth corner. Now, in your office area, if it's just simple one room, same concept, or a bedroom. If you're standing in your door looking in, the back left corner would be the wealth area. And so what I want you to do and what I want you to think about is start to ask yourself, what are in those areas in your office area or in your bedroom or in the wealth area of your home? Because it all starts to tell a story and starts to provide a clue. Now, the challenge is people all of a sudden will start to buy the trinkets because they've read online, hey, this is going to make you money. And the reality is they start to create shrines in their wealth areas or their abundance areas or things like that. And again, it moves you further and further away from your true self and your style and your taste. And that's where things continue to have disruptions and distractions. And so what I want you to think about is, intuitively, I wanted to ask you, what can you put or what can you do in your wealth areas to improve it? You know, you can always add plants and things like that, but intuitively people know instinctively, hey, I shouldn't have this piece here. Like, that's not telling the right story. So for me, the Bagua, which is the map of how each area is laid out and where it coordinates with other spaces and how and areas of your life, it tells you a story. But within a space, there's 12 to 15 things that are all telling the same story. So although your wealth area might tell a story about what's happening, there's 12 to 15 things that are happening that are dictating your patterns, habits, feelings, emotions, and so on within your subconscious mind. And that's impacting your energy, that's impacting your ability to get results, and that's impacting your ability to manifest on a much bigger scale. You see, When we can get our subconscious mind clean and clear, then that's when we have the ability to manifest. And the challenge is when we start manifesting, then a lot of times we instantly will revert back to what we know, which is some level of certainty, right? Even if you're suffering, you know what that suffering is. And a lot of times people choose that over being uncertain. And so what I want you to think about is when that happens, just take the next simple step. It doesn't mean that you have to say yes to everything. What it means is you just take the next simple step until you can make an educated decision. Sharon says, my wealth area furthest back left corner is a storage room accessed only from the exterior. It houses the water heater and I have a popcorn machine and other backyard movie night items stored in there. So what I want you to think about, Sharon, is make sure that's organized and you use those things. But also what I want you to do is think about if that is truly only available from the exterior, then what's the next area that's inside the home that you actually can access from the front door? Because a lot of times people are trying to coordinate the bagua with the garage, but the garage is not a living space. It is used for storage and it is used to keep the weather off our cars or the bicycles and all that. So what I want you to look at as well is where else, if you start to back that in, what else is happening there? And that starts to tell a little bit of a story about what's going on. And so what I want you to think about is as you start to gain clarity and as you start to uncover these pieces, what do we need to do to truly help you optimize and accelerate towards getting the real results that you want? And that's where you need to change your story and your perspective. And so for many of you here, you're already involved in the Feng Shui Your Life program. And for those of you that are not, come on over. What we do is each and every week, we identify a specific space within your home or within the bagua, and what story is it telling, and what can you do to optimize and begin to translate results into that area so we can fill up all the containers of our areas, because there's a ripple effect. When you're showing up well in your relationship, then you're feeling good in your professional life. When you're doing really well in your professional life, you communicate better. Your social life improves. When you're really being social, you have more fun. And all of these things translate into other areas. But all too often, we think it's a linear fashion, meaning when we accomplish one thing, then we're able to accomplish all the others. And the universe just doesn't work like that. I have an example where I have a client who has a business. And when I started working with her, she was working 100 hours a week, hadn't been able to pay herself since for two and a half years or something like that, wasn't in a relationship, had to move back in with her family. And plain and simple, she was just getting angry and frustrated. And so we started to feng shui her space and feng shui her life. And then all of a sudden we were able to identify, out of all the stuff she was doing, what do we need to really be focused on? And so she removed the hours that she was working from 100 hours a week to 50 hours a week. Because at some point she was just going through the motions and just showing up, but she wasn't able to truly begin to convert or have an impact because she was just going through the motions. And so we reduced the number of hours that she was working in half. Now, out of that, then we have to get focused on, hey, out of all the levers that we can pull, what are going to be the levers that are actually going to make a difference? The 80-20 rule. 80% of your revenues or your results are going to come from 20% of your actions or your clients. And so what do we need to do to help facilitate and optimize and double down on that? So all of a sudden, she was able to exponentially grow her firm's income because she was focused on the right things, the things that actually made an impact, and she started having fun again. Now, all of a sudden, she's able to pay herself a nice salary of 6 figures a year, and her business continues to expand. But that's not it. That's not the whole piece of the puzzle. Now, all of a sudden, she met a man who she believes is the one, and she's buying a new home. So it wasn't if-then statements. First, you have to have this, then you have to have that, and then you can do that. And then it's a 5-year timeline. That all happened within like 100 days, 3 months, which is a huge way to transform and change the way that a person is experiencing life. And it all started with the simple understanding of the patterns, habits, and behaviors that a person was experiencing on a subconscious level. and what they were putting out into the world and what was blocking them or limiting them from truly achieving results that mattered to them. And so what I want you to start to think about is, what are the patterns, habits, and behaviors in your current situation that are limiting you? And what patterns, habits, and behaviors could you simply start to add to truly improve your situation, not only on a subconscious level, but truly feeling better? What could you do to have a deeper connection in your relationships? What could you do to gain more clarity within your wealth or your finances or your net worth? And all of these things are within you. Sharon says, furthest left back corner, inside corner is my kitchen. I have my coffee and teapots there, and boy, do they get used. Awesome, Sharon. So Sharon, what I want you to think about, Sharon is a member of the Feng Shui Your Life membership program. So tomorrow we have the Feng Shui photo reviews. So Sharon, be sure to take some photos of that area and of those areas, and we will review those photos specifically tomorrow within the group at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And if you're not able to come live, no problem. It's recorded so you can watch the replay. So if you guys have a question, Feng Shui question, a personal question, a professional question about anything that you're experiencing, then feel free. This is your opportunity to take a moment to gain a new level of perspective and a new level of energy and clarity so that you can take more action and get bigger and better results. So what I want you to think about as well is, if this is something that's truly of interest to you, like gaining clarity or taking action, then what do you need to do to shift your space into reflecting that? You see, we're going through the motions. So when you're doing the monotonous, like example, the woman that was working 100 hours a week, she was just going, she was a robot, right? Because she was working so much, she just had to go through the motions, and she wasn't truly able to be present in any one area because she was exhausted. And so what I want you to look at and think about is, what is your space reflecting right now? How is, if you walked into this space for the first time and you didn't know the person that lived there, how would you describe that person's energy? How would you describe their ability to manifest? How would you describe the way that they're experiencing life? And it doesn't mean you have to have some architectural digest space to truly make it feel like some amazing palace. It doesn't matter the size. I've seen some homes that are 50, 60, 70 million dollars, and they have horrible feng shui. I saw one a while back and the person was having problems selling it. It was $35 million on the West Coast. Had horrible feng shui. So it's not equal to, just because something is more expensive or you pay more does not matter in feng shui. What it means is maybe you have some different resources that you can tap into and you can scale and leverage your time and your abilities, but it doesn't have anything to do with the amount of money that all of a sudden you're able to provide. Again, a space or a home has certain patterns and stories associated with it. And then so we can look at and say, what do we need to do to optimize your space? And then what can we do to help accelerate the results so that you can truly achieve what you want? And so if this is something of interest, click on the link there in the description above the video and come on over to Feng Shui Your Life, because each and every day we're learning about what can we do to raise our vibration and frequency. What can you do to truly understand what's happening within your space, and what can you do to truly move forward so that it's going to produce some level of results in your energy, in your ability to take action, and your ability to get a result. So guys, if you love these free Feng Shui Q&A sessions, then feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you truly are able to take some of this and it's really resonating with you, always appreciate the hearts. And if you know someone right now within your community, a friend, family member, or someone else, and you think that they could gain a new level of clarity or they could use a new level of energy, feel free to share it. Truly appreciate it. So again, guys, this time is for you. I'm here to answer your questions. So feel free to ask anything and we can help you get clarity around your personal and your professional life or family life or anything like that. Because the reason that you're here is the reason that you're looking for something. You're looking for some little hint, some little guidance, some little inspiration to help you take that next little step, to connect the dots and get back to being the Wonder Woman or the Superman that you truly are. Marco, hi Marco, how are you? My bed is in the gatekeeper's position. Is there something I need to do to improve on this space? So Marco, first of all, make sure that you're posting your photos for tomorrow for the Feng Shui photo review. Be happy to review them. And we've talked about this, potentially moving your bed to a different location. And so again, the whole goal is focus on what you can change and not on what you can't. Now you've made some great improvements, but now we need to start to look at some of the other areas of your home, the entryway, the wealth area. So this week in Feng Shui Your Life, we're talking about the wealth area. So if you're standing at the front door of your space looking in, what are we going to see in the back left corner of your home? So let's take a couple photos of that so we can start to begin to understand. And again, you have to be able to, in certain situations, focus on what you can change and not on what you can't. And that's where Feng Shui gets tricky, because all too often people will tell you, oh, that's fine. If you buy this lucky toad or you put, 18 crystals in a certain thing, then that will cure it. Well, it just doesn't work like that. Maybe it makes you feel better for a little bit of time, but the reality is you still are going to have disruptions and distractions. And so you have to begin to focus on what you can control, which is your energy, your clarity, and your ability to take action so that you can produce results. So Stacy asks, what about plants in the bedroom? I love plants, and I've always read that you shouldn't put them in the bedroom. So for me, I like to have a plant or plants in the bedroom. Now, there's a difference between a plant or plants and a jungle. You don't want to have something that's so suffocating. And so what I want you to think about is, what is something that's going to produce the feeling of being connected with nature? One of the challenges that people say, oh, the reason why plants shouldn't be associated with the bedroom is because they release carbon dioxide at night and stuff like that. Maybe that's true if you have 100, plants within a 5x5 space and the door is closed, and then you might have an issue. But the reality is the plants wouldn't survive to begin with. The other thing with plants is they're your first line of defense of sucking up or soaking up negative energy. And so all too often when you have a plant, there's two aspects to it. There's the mundane, which is, are you watering it? Are you getting enough sunlight? Did you overwater, underwater it? Is it the right plant for the right season? All of these different things, those are the mundane. Then there's the transcendental, which is the energetic. And so what I want you to think about is, if a plant isn't doing well, you can always move it or relocate it. But if it's truly looking like a Charlie Brown tree where you have 1 or 2 or 3 leaves left, and before it used to be so abundant, then maybe you need to release it back to the universe and bring in something that will embrace your feelings of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. If not, you will continue to feel like you're suffering and that you're truly just getting in by, and you're not getting that wealth and abundance, or you're truly feeling like you have choices and opportunities. So again, your space is a direct reflection of your energy and your ability to take action. And so if there are no plants right now in your bedroom, then that tells me there's probably a limited amount of energy that you have, and maybe you are not able to have the clarity, meaning you feel like you have so much going on that you're not being successful with any one thing, and you're not truly completing the projects that you need to. All too often people get excited, they get focused, they have all of these thoughts and all of these ideas, and then all of a sudden they get, they'll start this massive project and they get 30% of the way through, and then they're exhausted and they're drained. And then that project will sit there for a period of time. And then it's just one more thing that's stacked on to 100 different projects like that. And so you have to start to figure out, even before you start it, what are my steps? What are the tools that are going to help me achieve this outcome? And what do I need to do to move forward? Marco says, I moved a plant in my bedroom and it's showing new growth. I like it. I think it likes its new location. There you go. Beautiful. And it makes you happy, right? When you see a plant that's growing and vibrant and abundant, like, it makes you feel good. All too often when people are having distractions and disruptions in their life, they're losing connection with their with nature. And again, you want to bring nature from the outside inside. You want to have your space feeling like spring and summer, which is new beginnings, opportunities, and expansion and energy. In fall and winter, the energy is contraction, or it's dying, or it's dead. And so what you want to do is start to look at your space. Stacy says that's spot on about what's going on in my life 50% of the time. There you go. So it's okay. And again, here's the reality. You test it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you move the plant, plain and simple. Or the worst case scenario, the risk version is financial. You lost out on $20 or something like that. There are other places in your life that you could probably make up the $20. There are probably things that you're spending on a weekly basis that you could change. So what I want you to do is test, try it, and see what you want to see, how it's impacting you and your situation in your life. So guys, if you have another question that you would like clarity into, then feel free to ask it here, because this is your time to truly gain new levels of clarity and insight and perspective into what's happening within your space and how that's translating into what's happening in your life. And if you're truly ready to understand the correlation between the two and what you need to do to move forward, then come on over to Feng Shui Your Life. It's an online membership community. The link is there for more information just above the video here, and you can begin to understand what you need to do to take the next simple steps. So again, if you guys are just coming, my name's Ken Lauer. I'm a Feng Shui expert and life designer, and I'm all about helping you unlock incredible breakthroughs in your personal and professional life using a variety of tools. And one of the tools that we use is Feng Shui, because Feng Shui in your space is a direct reflection of what's happening in your subconscious mind. And so when you start to understand these patterns, programs, and habits and how it's impacting the people within your space, you can instantly start to tell what's happening in that person's situation or life without them telling you, because it's all told in space and you can't hide from your space. Doesn't matter if, you've been living in a space where it's a 1-bedroom or, a 20-bedroom home or office or anything like that, because it all is having an impact on your space. And sometimes if that's the case or it's not optimal, you can always then start to focus on, what do I need to do to move up and out? But usually that's a longer term goal. So right now, what we have to do is understand, hey, out of all the stuff we have going on and out of our space, what are the simple things that are going to truly be the levers that are going to spark and ignite and get our energy going so that we can get into a place of manifestation? And for me, manifestation is going from a thought to an action to a result and repeating it again and again and again. So what I want you to think about in your life, where are things coming to you and you're shutting down, or you're not taking that next simple step, or you're thinking about it? All too often, especially with entrepreneurs, they come and they say, hey, I'm getting all these people that want to think about it, but I can't convert. I'm not bringing in the revenue that I truly need. And so I'll ask them a question and they'll say, well, let me think about it, because what they're doing and how they're showing up in the world is being directly reflected back to them. And so what I want you to think about doing is changing the way that you're making your decisions and making it simpler and making it more effective. And notice the difference in how things are reflected back to you. Because again, you want drama, you'll be attracting drama. You have high levels of drama, you will be attracting that back to you. And then it's a cycle. And then you're in the washing machine cycle, literally it's spinning faster and faster and faster. All too often I walk down the street here in Manhattan, and you hear people talking about other people and this, that, and the other. They're not focusing on a solution. They're not focusing on the problem. They're just talking about the person and how frustrated or angry or upset they are. And they don't actually, when you're in that space, you don't actually want the problem or the solution. And if I told it to you, yeah, but, and there would be constantly 800 buts. Yeah, but this, oh, but that. And so you have to begin to understand, what do you need to do to help you streamline that? So if you guys have a question around Feng Shui or anything like that, let me know. Enter it in your comments below. I'll be happy to help you. And what I want you to think about again is going back to your entryway and starting to think about what do you need to do to improve the feng shui of your entrance. And so the first is the exterior. And that is there anything blocking? All too often people will put pots and, trinkets and all kinds of yard decoration and things like that in their way. Or they're letting the plantings start to creep over on the sidewalk. And so all of a sudden they have a really wide sidewalk and now it's smaller. It goes from 3 foot maybe to like 1.5 feet because things are growing over it. And it tells me that the person is lacking possibilities and opportunities. And so what I want you to think about is there anything blocking you from the street getting up to your front door? Or is it clean and clear? Can you actually see the street from your space? Because again, that shows opportunities and things like that. The other thing I want you to look at is your doormat. Is it in good condition? Or is it weathered and it was something from a year or two ago and you never really liked it to begin with, but it's there? Or do you have just this little small doormat and it's not truly serving what you really want? Or it's not reflecting the story that you really want to be experiencing? And so a doormat, although it could be an investment of, $20, $40, $50 or even more, depending on where you're shopping, you want that to start to reflect how you want to experience your space and how you want to experience your life, where you're full of new opportunities and possibilities. Or you're still just grinding it out, doing the same old techniques in the same ways and not truly helping you achieve what you really want. And so let me know if that makes sense, because it's all about understanding, hey, out of all the things that we have going on, what do we need to do to help you get back to being your true rock star self? So what I want you to think about as well here is understanding what is truly blocking me. What is blocking my energy? What is blocking me from truly taking things to the next level? And a lot of times people don't know because they don't know what the next level looks like. They know that they want to experience some level of clarity and progress, but they don't truly know where they're headed. And for some, that's okay, because from that place of mindset, you're not going to know, but you have to begin to take the next simple step so that you can begin to gain progress. And so that when you make progress, then the new level or new stairs start to open up to you. But all too often, people will stay on the same step and not take that next simple step. So where in your life have you stopped? And where do you need to just take that next simple step? Maybe it's in your relationships. Maybe, you've gotten into a habit and you're not truly, having a deeper connection within your relationship. Maybe it's with a family member. Maybe it's in your social life. If you're having real financial challenges or something like that, then usually what goes along with that is your social life implodes. So what can we do, or what can you do to start to be more social? And it doesn't mean you have to call up every friend that you used to hang out with. It means you just have to get out in the world and start socializing to begin to expand your energy. As you raise your vibration and frequency, you become more attractive personally and professionally. And a lot of times with Feng Shui, people just equate it to clutter, but it's about your chi and your energy and what's happening within your mind. And then how's that being reflected in your space, and using your space as a tool to help you adjust your energy so that the chi is circulating within you and helping you enhance and optimize your ability to think and your ability to take action. So let me know if that makes sense or if that resonates with you. Because all too often people get so obsessed of, again, oh, my bed's in this location, or my toilet's in the wealth area, or something like that. And they're so obsessed with it. The reality is these are tools to help us shift our chi and our energy so that it becomes more grounded, becomes more clear, and we can begin to have fun. And we have the ability to manifest. And so where in your life are you truly blocking yourself? And then what can you do to enhance that to the next level? What can you do today to truly support your energy and raise your chi? Or what can you do to consolidate? A lot of times people's chi or their energy is fragmented. It's all over the place because there's a relationship or stress or things like that. And then that carries over into their professional life, because now you're all fragmented and you, oh, this person said that person said that. I don't know what to do. But at the end of the day, you're here to create. Whether it's a thought, whether it's something in energy, whether it's an aura, whether it's you're here to create anything. But what are you creating, and what will you do to support your ability to create? And where in your life are you stopping that or hindering your ability to create? Maybe it's creation through communication. Maybe it's creation through some type of creativity. Maybe it's creation through moving a project forward and helping make it seamless or more efficient or more productive. There are all too often ways that you can begin to understand how you can have an impact and what problems you can truly solve. So let me know if that makes sense. Again, always appreciate the thumbs up. And if you truly are resonating with this, always appreciate the love. And if you know of somebody else that's having distraction or disruption, then feel free to share it with them. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm going to be here for another couple of minutes and would be happy to answer your questions. If you have something specific in your mind that all of a sudden, as I'm talking through these things, what's coming up in your mind? Is there something that's bubbling up and all of a sudden you're realizing something, or you're gaining a new level of awareness, or something that had been stuck in your subconscious all of a sudden is jumping the wall into your conscious? Or are you starting to gain some level of awareness that you can begin to understand, hey, out of all the things I could, should, need, and must do, here's the simple things that I can start to map out and how I can begin to influence my space and my life. And then what does that outcome truly look like? Again, goals are nice. You know, I saw somebody the other day and their business goal was they were doing really well. They were doing like, $1 million a month in revenue. And for business, that was really good. But somebody's like, okay, how do you do your annual income or your annual revenues? How do you do that in 1 month? And they're like, you just got to think bigger. And all of a sudden the guy got excited and he's like, yeah, that's exactly right. But they didn't map out the strategy. They didn't map out the bridge, the steps to get there. They just said, hey, you got to be bigger. You got to think bigger. You're setting that person up for a potential failure because you don't truly understand, hey, what do I need to do to start to build that gap? Right now, it's way off over there. And if you know and you're working towards that and you're moving, great. But if you don't truly understand what's the next simple step, then you could waste weeks, months, or years putzing around with this idea of I'm a failure, even though that you're doing really well. But all of a sudden, now your measurement is completely different. Now, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're celebrating where you're at, because again, one of the keys to happiness is progress and expansion, not stagnation and contraction. And all too often people are trying to focus on, hey, I'm stagnant and that's okay. Or I don't have money to pay my lunch, but that's okay because I don't need money. And it comes whenever I need it. The reality is there's a disconnect. There is some underappreciation or undervalue of what you're exchanging or how you're communicating that exchange in your professional life so that you can truly begin to add more value, or plain and simple, you're solving bigger problems. And so what problems do you need to solve to truly help you? Stacy says, we have a bathroom in our wealth corner that is mid-rehab. Any things we should look at doing in the rehab to help our wealth corner help us? I know that's really open-ended question. So first of all, Stacy, my question is, when is the rehab going to be completed? That's step one. So is this a week project? Is this a month project? Is this a year project? Or do we not know? It's whenever we can get it. Because all too often people will start do-it-yourself projects and then they don't know what to, they can't complete it. And then now they're living in a construction zone. The other thing that I want you to start to look at is post the photos for the Feng Shui photo review in the Feng Shui Your Life community so that we can review them and start to understand. Yeah, there may be some things we can do, or maybe that you're not done. So it's probably months. Okay, so do you have clarity around the steps? It's not about, going and buying some lucky trinket and putting it in a construction zone because that's going to make everything better. The goal is, can you use it, and what do you need to do to continue to move that project forward so that you have some level of completion? Because months can turn into years. And so the other thing is, again, focus on what you can change and not on what you can't. So if you have things that you understand what you need to do, if all of a sudden you had an infusion of money, could you improve that timeline? Could it be literally 2 weeks rather than, several months? And then if you're looking at that point, okay, well, what do you need to do out of all the things that's happening in your life, or all the opportunities? What is the next simple step that you need to take? Or what do you need to do to make that phone call? Or what do you need to do to go on that audition, or things like that, to truly bring in the revenue? And then if you bring in the income, then how much is associated into that project? And what is the budget for that project to complete? All too often, people don't know, and it becomes a hidden thing. Do you have the entire bathroom completely planned? Do you know exactly what the cabinet's going to look like, where you're going to get it, how much it is? Do you know how much the mirror is going to be? Do you know how much the tile and the tiling is going to be? Or is it a one project thing where it's all one lump sum and then somebody's going to come in and complete it for you? Or what's the step? Or if you're doing it yourself, all of these different things. But the reality is time and money. So how much time is it going to take, and how much money is required to truly get it to moving forward? And then what do you need to do to have a positive impact on that time and money or resources to help you move it forward so that you can get it into a place of completion? If not, it's going to feel like a constant progress, or you're going to get stuck. And then all of a sudden, you're not gaining that progress. And then all of a sudden, you're going to feel like you're just butting your head against the wall in every opportunity that you have in your professional life, because it feels like, oh, I'm a work in progress, but is never actually producing any result. Stacy says, I have now been totally clear what I want to do with it other than colors. This prevents me from budgeting, but we're going to have somebody come in and do it. So I guess any clarity on what I want to do with it first. Okay, so so I have not been totally clear on what I want to do with it. So you got to get clear before you start the project. This is where the many do-it-yourselfers get in trouble, because all of a sudden they know that they don't want this, whatever that is. And so what you need to do is start to figure it out. And that's why you can come into the Feng Shui Your Life community tomorrow, post your photos. We'll review them tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And if you're not able to make it, watch the replay. Because again, we can help you start to get understanding, because you have to start to get clarity around the plan of what needs to happen. All too often, I'll give you another example, and this is a different example on fun. People want to talk, the fourth need for typically the women that I encounter, the fourth need is around travel. They want more adventure. They want more progress, and they want to be more curious. And so they don't want to be going through the monotony. They want to explore. And so all too often, the fourth need is around travel. But all too often, they're like, yeah, I want to travel more. Well, okay, what does that look like? Where are you going to go? Well, I'd love to go here or there or something. Okay, my next question is, how much would a ticket cost? They don't know. And they're keeping it this big idea because they're looking at Pinterest or Instagram, and they're seeing all these amazing photos and things like that, and making themselves feel bad or things like that. But they don't quite know, or haven't done the research to understand, hey, I can get a ticket for $350. If I budget $20 a week, then I can all of a sudden afford it to do, so-and-so. But a lot of times they haven't even gone to that step. And so what I want you to do is think about, what is the strategy, and what is the outcome, and what is the plan? And then maybe you have option 1, 2, and 3, depending on your budget, your time, your resources, and things like that. And so what can you do to take that next simple step to just move it forward a little? If not, again, you're going to be stuck for weeks, months, or years. And a lot of times people are like, oh, well, let me think about it, or, oh, I'll get back to you. Well, I can follow up with them 6 months or more, and they're still putzing around. They're still suffering. They're not making progress. And so you have to begin to understand what is that next simple step that you need to take to move things forward, and how can that have a positive impact on your life and your current situation. So hopefully that was helpful. So guys, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And again, this is all about getting your feng shui questions answered for helping you gain real results and clarity in your personal and professional life. So feel free, click on the link just above to come on over to Feng Shui Your Life. It's a private online community designed to help you raise your vibration and frequency and help you set your intentions, gain clarity, and take action so that you can truly get the results in life that you know are possible and welcome new possibilities and opportunities. So click on the link above. Would love to welcome you into the group. This week, we're focusing on wealth, the wealth area, and what we need to do to help manifest certain new levels of prosperity, abundance, and wealth in our life. So come on over. Would love to welcome you aboard. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope that you have a fabulous, fun, productive, and prosperous day and week ahead.